All right, guys, here's my audience. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. My dad's always been a fan of Vikings, their history and their physique. I'm also a Viking fan. Thor is my favorite, especially when he looks like Chris Hemsworth. And little did I know that a couple weeks in the past, when I'd get home from school, my dad had just done some research and now believes we're related to Vikings because our names somewhat match. And I don't believe we are as related as he wholeheartedly believes, but it'd be pretty cool to have some Viking blood running through your veins. So with that being said, today I'm going to tell you the historical and amazing tale of Vikings, and if you're lucky, you'll catch a glimpse into why my dad is so obsessed with them. With all the research I've done on this topic, I feel I have a pretty good grasp on all the information, and I also have all the knowledge from my father. I don't remember learning about Vikings much in the past in school, so I also think it's important to learn about them at some point. The three main topics we're going to be talking about today is some basic Viking history, the legend of Ragnar Lothbrok, and then also the amazing Viking longships or longboats that they invented. All right, to start with some brief Viking history, specifically where the Vikings came from, and then also the places they traveled to cause trouble. So most Vikings are known from being from Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, but some have also been recorded as being Estonian, Sami, and also Finnish. Then there's a word Vik, that is an Old Norse Scandinavian word. It means bay or creek, and then it forms a root in the word Vikinger, which means pirate. And okay, so when we think about Vikings and all the stories we hear about them, we think about the experiences from their perspectives, but we don't think about the perspectives of the Vikings' victims. Many Anglo-Saxons and other bystanders during these Viking raids wrote down their experiences, and little did they know they'd be saving them for us to learn about in the future. So the first Viking raid was in AD 793 on the Lindisfarne Monastery. All right. Off of northeastern England, off the coast of Northumberland, and these Anglo-Saxons actually remember when the church was spattered with the blood of the priests of God, despoiled of all its ornaments, given as a prey to pagan peoples. That's from A Brief History Online. Vikings mainly raided coastal areas, but eventually they decided to move more inland and pillage more inland for more goods to pick up. And through this, they created their name Seaborne Pirates, which is also from A Brief History. And then for 2 more centuries, they continued to pillage these unexpected coastal areas, creating their feared reputation among these areas. All right. Next, we're going to talk about the legendary Ragnar Lothbrok, creator of some epic warriors, lover of multiple women, and he also made some epic battles. So, Ragnar is one of the most memorable Vikings besides Thor, obviously. Ragnar is most memorable for his mythical tales of all the creatures he slayed, and he's most well known for pillaging unexpected towns, leading armies into battle, conquering lots of land throughout Scandinavia, and then also killing huge mythical creatures. Now, with that being said, since all this happened so long ago and Ragnar's definitely not alive still, it's hard to tell if all this information is true. It could be fake, but if it were true, that'd be pretty awesome, and we should definitely not think less of this man if his stories are not true. But not only was he super powerful and popular, he had 3 epic wives who all bore him 8 sons at least, and some of those sons are Sigurd, Snake in the Eye, Bjorn Ironside, Ivar the Boneless, and also Ube. That information is from Ragnar Lothbrok Online. So, Ragnar's first wife was Lagertha, a ruthless shield maiden. His second wife was Thora, who he had to enchant by by slaying all the creatures that were terrorizing her town. And then his third wife was Aslog, daughter of Sigurd the Dragon Slayer and Brunhilda the Shield Maiden. Now, Ragnar and Aslog would go on to be one of the most powerful Viking couples in history, also creating some of the most powerful men in history, since all of Ragnar's sons either met or surpassed Ragnar's own power. And this is Ragnar and Aslog here, I believe. Last but not least, we're going to be talking about the Viking longships, or also known as longboats. The Vikings put blood, sweat, and tears into these magnificent boats, but they're very beautiful and very advanced for sure. Without these ships, the Vikings would not have their deadly and vicious reputation that we know them to have today. The first ships were built during the Viking Age between the years 790 CE and 1100 CE. That's from Groenevold E. 2018. And so most of the ships we're able to see today were preserved underground after ritual ship burials. And so we're able to see these beautiful ships after they've been unearthed. And then also, if we get lucky, the ships from the bottom of the oceans will come up to the surface, giving us a bigger opportunity to learn about these ships because they're beautiful and an important part of the everyday life of a Viking. And these boats were super elegant and graceful on the water, but they sure took a lot of time to make and create. So the Vikings started with long planks of wood that they gathered from nearby trees, and in a method called lapstrake, they would place them over each other one by one, and then eventually they'd have a beautiful shell-like appearance that you can see on the picture there. And upon raiding coastal mercantiles and trading outposts, they realized they were missing a key component on their ships: sails. And if you thought Vikings were super scary before, you're sadly mistaken. With the addition of sails on their longboats, the boats could carry those bloodthirsty Vikings anywhere super fast, and their victims would not even see them coming. And in conclusion, the time during the Viking Age is now just one long, adventurous, and violent story. Not only are these stories inspiring, they could also be true. And there's so much more I could talk about and so much more I could learn, but that's all we're going to say today, with a brief history on Vikings, the legend of Ragnar Lothbrok, and then also the invention of these beautiful longships. With all this information, you could have a great conversation with anyone about Vikings, especially with my dad. And whenever you are feeling small, defeated, or weak, just remember you could have Viking blood flowing through your veins. And when you think from the perspective of a Viking, your power has no limits. You can conquer anything, and even after your death, your legend will live on for years and years, inspiring many other people, just like it has done for my dad, and just like Thor inspires me every day. Thanks.